Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back to the recap and breakdown. Today we're taking a look at UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Duncan, which just took place on April the 4th, 2026 in the Apex. We're going to start off with the early prelims and end with the main event. It was a packed card with finishes. I knew it was going to be a crazy card because a lot of people were sleeping on it. We had a lot of iffy contenders that are trying to make a name for themselves. We had a lot of people who had some time off trying to make their way back. It was a stacked card. We're going to start off, like I said, with the early prelim opener that was Kai Kamaka III versus Dakota Hope. Now, Kai Kamaka, if you don't know who this guy is, he used to be in the UFC some years ago. I believe in like 2020. Yeah. During COVID, he beat Tony Kelly, who I know none of you guys know. He's just a low-key bum. Lost to Jonathan Pierce by ground and pound, and then lost to TJ Brown in a close split decision, which I actually thought that Kai Kamaka won. But nonetheless, he got kicked out of the UFC and had to go into the regional scene, try and make a name for himself out of Bellator, try and make a name for himself out of the PFL. Got dropped from there, went to Tough Enough, and made his way back. He fought Dakota Hope, who was a UFC newcomer. Didn't really have a whole lot of business being inside the UFC, if I'm being a whole lot honest. I mean, he had a good fight in Fury FC, but the guy he fought, Mauricio Gomez, is just not that good. He is a terrible grappler who has no hope in MMA, if I'm being honest. And you have Kai Kamaka, who just seems a little bit more fluid, a little bit more full as a mixed martial artist. And Dakota Hope was just kind of winging punches in the first two rounds, just trying to take Kai Kamaka out of there. He tagged him a few times, but it wasn't enough to get Kai out of there, and it wasn't enough to stop the approach in the third round when it was a close 1-1 fight. It was a good fight, a split decision for Kamaka. I don't know, I would have given it to Kai Kamaka rounds 2 and 3, but Dakota Hope tried his best, just couldn't get through. Next on the prelims, you had Diony Barboza versus Melissa Gatto. Now, this was a crazy fight. I mean, Gatto really should have won this fight on DQ. Diony Barboza threw a soccer kick to Melissa Gatto while she was a grounded opponent. The kick did land on her neck, I believe, not so much the head, but with MMA rules, the head is also classified as the neck area when it comes to high kicks. Any kick that lands. So Diony Barboza soccer kicked her right in the neck, which should have been a DQ instantly because Melissa Gatto was knocked out on the floor. I'm not sure if she was lying or not, but she did literally get soccer kicked right to the fucking chin. So I'm going to say that she was actually knocked out. Doctors came and checked up on her. It took the full 5 minutes, but they actually allowed her to fucking fight, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. They should not have let Melissa Gatto continue that fight. They took only one singular point away from Diony Barboza in the second round, and that's basically just allowing soccer kicks in the UFC. If you're going to allow just a singular point deduction, why not do that every single fight? If I only got 1 point deducted for soccer kicking someone right in the neck, I'm going to do that every single time I can. I don't understand what this stupid deterrent is of 1 point. That should have been a complete DQ for Diony Barboza. I had also picked Melissa Gatto, so maybe I have a little bit of bias when it comes to it, but I think even if I picked Diony Barboza, I would have regardless had the same feeling. I think Melissa Gatto got robbed of a DQ. I think she got robbed of a fight, and I think she got robbed of a position where she was actually doing pretty well inside the second round, was about to get back up to her feet, and then Diony Barboza just absolutely rocks her shit with that leg kick, or the soccer kick to the chin. Honestly, it changed the whole course of the fight. In my opinion, it should have been 2 points. Regardless, whatever. I guess it doesn't matter at this end of the spectrum, but again, I feel bad for Melissa Gatto. I really feel like she should have had that fight, and I really feel like Diony Barboza is a fucking bum. And I think her next fight is going to be very telling of what she gets. I think they're going to feed her to the wolves. So, congrats, but honestly, shit win for Diony Barboza. Next on, it should have been a draw anyway. Next on the prelims, Trajan Gore versus Azamat Bakoyev. I had picked Trajan Gore all week. Azamat Bakoyev, just a little bit of a question mark in his career. I know I have fucking... Oh, actually, did I? I guess I stayed very, very away from this fight, is what I said in the predictions and breakdowns. I would have never picked Azamat Bakoyev. I picked him on Tapology just because I wasn't sure if Trajan Gore was going to be able to make it. But Trajan Gore is so goddamn durable, and this guy is willing to take punishment from anybody, and he's willing to walk forward through all of the damage and all of anything that anyone has to throw at him, and he's always been like that. And that's still the reason why he's in the UFC at 5-4. The kid really should have been cut from the UFC, but they gave him a chance because of his grit and because of his intellect and because of his fight IQ. He actually has quite large fight IQ. He's got a really devastating guillotine choke, and he's got some really nice hands. And now he's actually been improving quite rapidly. The kid has said that he took weed away from his personality. He doesn't smoke anymore. He took all the bullshit away. He doesn't do anything anymore, and he has completely sobered himself up for his fight fight game, and clearly it showed here. Asamet Bakoyev, a devastating finisher in his own right, couldn't take out Trajan Gore. He tried his best in the first round, maybe tagged Gore a couple times, but eventually Trajan Gore started landing some good punches in the first and second round, and then eventually had Asamet Bakoyev completely gassed in the third round. Trajan Gore was a plus 100 starting the second round. He absolutely mauled as an underdog. He was a plus 600 before the fight started, and these odds do not truly show the level of grit and the level of talent that Trajan Gore has. I really am excited for this kid to actually have some more time inside the UFC. I think this is a really good spot for him to continue his career. I think he's actually going to be able to beat some of the better guys inside the division. I don't think we're only going to see with time. Trajan Gore, fantastic guillotine choke in the third round, puts Asamet Bakoyev out face first on his ass, and he's just sleeping. Trajan Gore, I cannot believe it. His family was all watching as well. It was very nice to see him get that win. Next on the prelims, Alice Pereira versus Haley Cohen. Haley Cohen coming off, what, a 2 or 3 year layoff? Oh no. I guess she had a fight last year, but again, before that 2-year layoff, really shouldn't have been inside the UFC in the first place. Both of these girls, Alice Pereira, newcomer, lost to Montserrat Rendon, which was crazy to me. I knew she was going to lose that fight as well, but just the fact that it actually happened was so depressing. Haley Cohen and Alice Pereira both use their frames in fights and both kind of bully women when it comes to 135. Being 5'8" and 5'9", these girls use their length really well, use their arms really well, and just kind of try and beat girls up in the feet and just maul positions, especially Haley Cohen against the cage, tries to get those takedowns. Alice Pereira just wasn't having any of it. She was able to shuck off most of the takedowns in the first round, and then it just came to the second round when she started actually, it was the bottom of the first round, but she was beating the shit out of Haley Cohen really bad, inflicting a lot of pain. Second round was the same thing. She eventually got a takedown. Haley Cohen eventually got a takedown, and eventually Alice Pereira got up, and 10 seconds later landed the most devastating knee I think I've ever seen a woman land in the last 10 years. And she absolutely obliterated Haley Cohen, bro. She obliterated her. She put her flat out on her back, face first, or not face first, but ass first, staring into the ceiling, in the shadow realm, gone. Separated from consciousness, nowhere to be seen, not even in the third dimension or the fourth. She was gone. She probably was dead for half a second. That girl fucking died. She died in that octagon. That she will never be the same. She will 100% retire from mixed martial arts, and there's no way she's in the UFC after that. Alice Pereira gets a stunning knockout. The Golden Girl makes her way back into the talk with a devastating knockout over Haley Cohen. That fucking knee just was absolutely crazy, and then Alice Pereira lands a right hand, just a little H-bomb from the top, and just hammers Haley Cohen on the floor. Congratulations to Alice Pereira. She won Performance of the Night, but holy I really couldn't believe that she was able to do that. That's some ridiculous stuff from a girl. She's got crazy power, and she's got some crazy hands for 135. Next on the prelims, Darius Flowers versus Lando Venata. Now, you had Darius Flowers, who was a little bit more active than Lando. Lando coming off a couple years of not fighting. He hadn't fought since 2023. Had a decision against Daniel Zellhuber, but now that we know Zellhuber's not that good, it's kind of a question mark, So we were a little bit worried, and we picked Darius Flowers to win. And what do you know? What do you see? Darius Flowers knocks out Lando Venata inside the second round. And the reason for that is because in the first round, he slammed Lando right on his back when Lando was attempting an armbar, and Darius put all of his weight right into the side, and I'm pretty sure he broke Lando's rib right away. And at the end of the first round, you saw Lando complaining to his corner. Leading to the second round, Darius Flowers trips him right to that same side, ends up with a TKO with hammer fists on the ground after Lando could not continue. There was not really a whole lot Lando could do. He was out of his depth here. Darius Flowers proving why the guy should still be inside the UFC. And granted, these are both cans, but Darius Flowers still gets the better of him. I did pick Darius Flowers to get a decision over Lando. I thought it would be a little bit more grappling intensive from Lando. I thought he'd maybe put Darius on his ass, and Darius would have to build to his feet a couple times. But nonetheless, Darius Flowers gets it done by TKO the way he knows how to do it best. I believe it was like 80%, I think, for TKOs in his career. Pretty nasty. Lando Venata gets out of there once again. I'm guessing he's going to retire after that as well. Next on the prelims, you have Alessandro Costa versus Stuart Nicole. And Nicole was smiling through the whole first round, but I'll tell you what, Alessandro Costa was beating the shit out of him bad. He was beating him up to the liver. He was beating him up to the head. Stuart Nicole was trying to throw some spinning stuff, trying to land something against Costa, and Costa was having none of it. He got stopped by Alton Correa not that long ago, and I think he was just coming back with a bit of a vengeance. I think he was just trying to get a win back on his record after that kind of embarrassing loss against a guy who really shouldn't have been in the cage with him whatsoever. And Stuart Nicole was that guy, the layup they really needed. You know, Alessandro Costa just kept moving forward, beating him up, hitting him to the leg, really stopping Nicole's movement. He had that front leg chewed up. Alessandro Costa was switching stances nice, hitting him to the liver. Nicole kept dropping his arms, kept making faces, kept smiling towards him until he got clipped to the liver, and Stuart Nicole goes down with only 4 seconds left on the clock in round 2, and Alessandro Costa gets a TKO by liver shot and hammers. I don't know, man. Like, Stuart Nicole really should be out of the UFC at this point. Loses to Jesus Christ, I can't even talk. Loses to Jesus Aguilar by guillotine. Loses to, who was the other kid by decision? Lost to Lucas Holsha, maybe? Yeah, lost to Lucas Holsha by decision. And then Alessandro Costa by a liver punch. I mean, he should be out of the UFC now. 3-0, 3-0, get out. 3 strikes. Time's up, bud. It was a fantastic finish for Costa, and it's just one of the very many finishes that was just fucking crazy on this card. 4 in a row, obviously led into a boring decision. And Thomas Peterson versus oh my god, I'm just going Guilherme Pat. Jesus Christ, I'm just gonna say Kong Pat so that my brain doesn't explode right now, especially coming right off of work. Thomas Peterson we picked all week. He was an underdog before this fight started, and Kong Pat just really didn't have anything for him. He was having a really good first round, but Thomas Peterson was doing a really good job of backing up and tagging him. It was a good job of staying on the outside, not allowing Kong to be in his comfortable spot, not allowing him to be in those hook ranges, and Thomas was just on the back foot the whole time. He landed 52 to 13 strikes, I believe, at the start of the third round, but the significant strikes were almost even. Kong Pat just landed more significant strikes that landed more of an impact, but Thomas was controlling the distance and controlling the cage time. Eventually, Thomas Peterson hits him with a crazy right hand, drops Guilherme on his ass, and he eventually gets hammered out, but does not get finished. It was very close. It would be a 10-8 in that third round, and I think some judges did see it as a draw, but I had it for Thomas. I thought he did enough to win that fight, and I thought he did enough to push through the adversity of Kong Pat in the first 2 rounds. I think Pat just has no cardio whatsoever. The dude's 250, and it clearly has no cardio with it whatsoever. Thomas clearly has the cardio for it. His body seems a lot better in shape than I saw last time, and he seems like a guy I would actually want to be friends with, seeing as how fucking cool he is in the cage and how calm and collected he is. He's got a lot of grit and a lot of balls to be in there with a guy like Kong Pat, who just knocks dudes the fuck out. I think Thomas Peterson's going to be a little bit of a question mark inside the heavyweight division, especially as he gets a little bit more time in the UFC PI. He'll never be champ, but he will be a gatekeeper that will be having a name to be known. Next, they were looking for a finish in that fight too. They almost had it, but didn't get it. Next on the main card, they were looking at for finish. I wish my brain would register faster than I could talk. They were looking for a finish on this one, but they didn't get it. Jose Delano versus Robert Rushala, who should have got TKO'd in the third round. Jose Delano was doing a lot of good work. Robert Rushala ended up getting a point deducted for cage holding after Jose Delano was trying to take him down with a body lock. Jose Delano showed that this guy is still a nasty UFC prospect, still one of the guys to look out for in the UFC division. And at 145, this kid just coming in having his UFC debut against Robert Rushala. Fantastic performance. The kid really showed out and he really showed his skills. He really showed how he's a complete mixed martial artist. He looked a little jittery in the first round and looked a little excited, but he's got really good kickboxing. He's got really nice slips. He's got a lot of good boxing techniques, and he's got a lot of good wrestling stuff to get out of bad situations. He's able to use both things, especially when he gets cracked. He's able to get out of bad spots and able to close the distance when he needs to, and able to get the range when he really wants it, and able to find all of the perfect strikes. He's really looking good. It was probably the UFC jitters. He got over it. He went through it. He already had a fight in the Apex. Maybe a big crowd will be different, but for now, Jose Delano's a name to look out for. He probably will be a minus 200 for his next fight as well, no matter who it is, because he's so good. Look for a finish. It's coming soon from Delano. Next on the main card, you had Tommy McMillan versus Manolo Zucchini. I picked McMillan by submission, and the whole point of that was I think Manolo was going to get clipped, eventually drop to the floor, and Tommy McMillan was going to end up with an anaconda choke and just slice it up. Not what happened. McMillan just seemed pissed off. He seemed like he wanted the knockout really fucking bad, and he looked like he wasn't going to go without it in his UFC debut, and he just went at Manolo Zucchini. He threw everything at him. He let Zucchini hit him with crazy strikes, and he didn't give 2 fucks. He just kept walking forward. He was bleeding from his nose, and he was smiling through the whole goddamn thing. Tommy Gunn was just mauling Zucchini. A guy who has, like, how many first-round finishes? Like 9? He's got 8 first-round TKOs, which is absolutely nuts inside Italy. He looked really good inside the regional scene, but again, this is just, you got to call up for, I think it was Morgan Shahier. It was a layup for him. He got into the UFC on false terms. I think he needs to go to the other regional scenes, maybe Tough Enough, maybe PFL, something like that, to get himself a little bit more fight experience than just right into the UFC where they're getting killers instantly. Tommy McMillan looked good, looked sharp. They're going to give him another layup soon since it's Sean O'Malley's boy, but still, Tommy the Gun McMillan still looking as sharp as ever and still improving even more. Improved to 10-0 on his UFC debut on a main card against Manolo Zucchini. Granted, it was the Apex, but still gets it done. Next on the main card, I was pissed off about this one. I'll tell you what. I was pissed off about this one. Ethan Ewing versus Rafael Estevam. I picked Rafael Estevam in this fight because Ethan Ewing looked a little lackluster in the fight against Malcolm Wellmaker. Yes, he looked sharp. Yes, he looked good with the boxing. But his coach was screaming every fucking combination out loud like he did in this fight. He was screaming basically the whole game plan. So if you knew eventually there's going to be too much tape on Ewing where you know what everything means because you cannot change a whole fucking language that you have with your fighter. It's not that easy. And it's not, especially when he's in flow state, he's not going to remember everything if you start changing it. Now, I picked Rafael Estevam. I thought he was going to be able to grapple the shit out of Ethan Ewing. I thought he was going to be able to put him on his ass and maybe slow down a little bit the boxing, maybe slow down the pace. It did not seem that way. Rafael Estevam did not seem like the bigger fighter. It seemed like Ethan Ewing had the bigger frame, even though Rafael Estevam missed weight. Ethan Ewing was landing massive strikes to the body, just softening up Rafael Estevam, chewing the leg up, and Estevam had nothing going. He was getting tagged bad in the first round. He started getting tagged really bad in the second round. He got dropped at the end of the first round, and then it goes into the third round and is getting absolutely teed off on. Ethan Ewing keeps pressuring him with nasty boxing combinations, moving to the body, moving right back up to the head with a 1-2, and then ripping a hook to the body, and eventually he clipped Rafael Estevam with something that just dropped him to his ass. Ethan Ewing celebrates with his arms in the air before he goes up to Rafael Estevam and hammers him out with a couple more to end off the fight. Ethan Ewing looks like an absolute fucking demon. This kid's going to eventually get caught because of his coach screaming everything out. But for now, Ethan Ewing looks like a full-on prospect killer and looks like the real Professor Finesser and looks like he's going to have a name to remember again. A lot of these guys are getting some really ridiculous wins, a lot of beautiful talent, and a lot of crazy techniques that I haven't seen before. Ethan Ewing is just getting basically coded by his fucking coach in the whole fight. He's basically playing a Mortal Kombat character, but it's live. Ethan Ewing, beautiful TKO over Rafael Estevam, drops the 14-0 donut to a 1 churro, and I think Estevam is just looking even worse than he did before. I don't know what's going on with him moving up in weight, but it was not the way to go. He should have stayed at 125. This was only worse for his career and only worse for his future. Next on the main card, Abdul Rahman Yakyayev against Brandon Ribeiro. I picked round 1 KO for this one. Similar to Tommy Gun McMillan, I knew it was going to be a drop to the floor and eventually a submission, but I also had a feeling that he was going to just hang over top of Brandon Ribeiro, who shells up quite well and doesn't really allow doesn't allow submissions ever. In his career, he's never been submitted in the UFC. Hadn't been submitted since his first 3 or 4 fights in his mixed martial arts career, and he's at 27 right now. And I felt like Abdul Rahman Yakyayev was just going to throw demon shots like he did against Rafael Sakaria, and I thought those strikes would not be good enough to get him to the floor. I thought it'd be good enough to put him out. I thought Ribeiro was going to go out flatline. Turns out Brandon Ribeiro still a little bit durable, still a little bit of a fucking joker inside the division because this guy just gets random wins as well. But Yakyayev gets a submission win, round 1, which I did pick. Didn't get the right way, but still a really good win for Abdul. Kid looks nasty. I can't wait to see if he fights an actual talent so we can see if this guy's a can or not. Give him fucking Umar Sy at this point because Sy's going out. This guy's terrible. Ion Cutelaba got him. Shit, anybody else is getting him next. Next on the co-main event of the evening, Verna Jandiroba versus Tabitha Ricci, and I picked Verna all week. I thought Tabitha Ricci was a little bit in over depth on this fight. I thought the grappling was going to be too much for Ricci, and I thought the fact that Verna Jandiroba, even though she looks really bad in 5-round fights, she looks really good in 3-round fights. This girl's got cardio for about 15 minutes until she starts to fall apart, okay? At about the 11:30 mark, this girl starts to get really tired. starts taking some deep breaths and just tries to wrestle down a takedown to try and end the fight off in proper position. But Virna Jandiroba still is the king of the 15 rounders, king of the 3 rounders at this point inside the UFC. She looks absolutely dominant. She beat up Yan Xiaonan, and Tabitha Ricci had a big problem with her on the feet. So I'm not really sure why we were worried about Virna Jandiroba in this fight. I'm not really sure why it was an even pick'em either, because Virna's 37 years of age. She's not that old yet. At this point, women can fight till they're 39, 40, and they're still looking pretty sharp. Just look at Angela Hill, in my opinion. And then you have Tabitha Ricci, 31 years of age, still figuring out, not as big of a vet as Virna Jandiroba, so I was all over the side of Jandiroba. The grappling, the pressure, the clinching, the cage work. Just, I knew Jandiroba was going to be an outwork her and just outpoint her. And as you can see, a unanimous decision, pretty easy, 30-27, if I'm not mistaken. Tabitha Ricci maybe had a close first round, but nothing going for her in the rest of the fight. I thought it was really clear, and I thought it was really easy for Jandiroba to win. It was a good fight. It was a good one to watch. I hope Tabitha Ricci can be able to figure it out, because she's starting to get some tough losses. One to Virna, one to Yan, and the Lupi Godinez being able to beat her up on the feet. I don't know, man. We'll see when it comes to the tougher girls in the division, because Virna's not even the toughest. Next, the main event of the evening, the bread and butter, what we were looking for. Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan. We took Renato Moicano to win by submission. I did pick round 1, and the reason for that was just because I felt like Chris Duncan, like against Manuel Torres, I thought Renato Moicano would try and close the distance right away and try and just scoop it up. But instead, Moicano chose the approach of beat him up on the feet and eventually just tag him down until he gives up. And that was good enough, I guess. I would have liked to see him maybe get him a little bit sooner, because I felt like he could have got him on the ground a lot earlier. Chris Duncan was just willing to stand and bang, obviously, because he wanted to try and knock him out. Chris Duncan's only way of victory was going to be on the feet, and the only way he was going to be able to get anything done was with his hands, and he wasn't getting it done. He wasn't throwing any leg kicks, really, and Renato Moicano was just chewing his ass up on the feet. The Scotland native just couldn't get anything done. Renato Moicano looked beautiful as ever. Money Moicano wanted the performance bonus. I don't think he got it, which is a little bit fucking wild if you ask me. Money Moicano looking for, he always wants the money. He always wants the performance bonuses. This guy's only ever 2 in his entire career, which is ridiculous, but they should give him the money anyway. Beautiful submission over Chris Duncan, a guy that you didn't really think was going to go out that easy, but again, we were looking at it all week. I felt like it was just a bit of a mismatch on the ground. I thought the stand-up would be a little bit close, but it proved to be not even close whatsoever. Chris Duncan tried his best. I just really couldn't get anything started in the stand-up. That's all I had for you guys this week. I will probably have... I keep trying to get these compilations done, but they're so difficult to do, and I'm being such a baby when it comes to work on stuff. But I will try my best to get these compilations with my reactions out soon for the card. I don't know how long I'll make them. I don't know how long I should make them, but we'll see. Hopefully I see you guys all later this week for the predictions and breakdowns for next week's UFC 327 Yuri Prohaska versus Carlos Ulberg, which also features in the co-main event Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Curtis Blades is taking on Josh Hawkick, as well as Dominic Reyes taking on Johnny Walker. You have a lot of wild fights, as well as a retirement fight for Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr. I don't know if Landwehr's retiring. I just meant Cub Swanson. And then Aaron Pico making his return to the Bellator champ, Patricio Pitbull. That's all I got for you guys this week. I'll see you guys all later. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Peace.